Hey guys, okay, so here's another video on these one-step equations. Hopefully you've watched some of the previous videos before this. We're going to try some other types of problems. We're going to try some new ones, so I'm going to write example 1. Here is another type of one-step problem. Problems that look like this. 2x equals 8. This is definitely a one-step problem. Now remember what the goal is. We want to know what is x, what's that number. So I'm going to put a line down the equal sign and expect at the bottom an answer that says x equals. But I think I'm going to also, for my notes, put a little thought cloud over here because a lot of people are very confused as to what 2x is. Like, what does it mean? Well, what it really means is it really means 2 times x. It means there's 2 of them. So it's a multiplication problem. And the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So to undo this problem, if 2 times a number, let's think about it. What do we have to multiply by 2 to get 8? 2 times 4. So I already kind of know. My answer is going to be 4 because 2 times 4 is 8. But to figure that out, it's like I have to undo it. I have to be like, you know what? If I took 8 and I divided by 2, I would get 4. That's what's going to undo both sides of the problem. We're going to divide by 2 on both sides to figure this out. Unfortunately, the way I'm showing my work is actually kind of a bad example though, because I'm using this division symbol. This is kind of the elementary school way of showing division. It works. There's nothing wrong with it. On your calculator, that's what the divide button looks like. But in algebra, that's really not how we show division. In algebra, we use fractions for dividing. So what I really wish I had done is I'm going to rewrite this problem and now show it a better way. Instead of using this symbol for divide, I'm going to use a fraction because fractions and division are actually kind of the same thing. So when I wanted to divide this by 2, I'm going to show it like this. 8 divided by 2. And I'm going to divide this side by 2 also. When I do the left side, 2 divided by 2, think about that. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now I only have 1x. Perfect. Basically, it's like these are going to go away. I'll just have the 1x. And 8 divided by 2 gives me my answer of 4. X is equal to 4. And there's my answer. So let's look at another one because we started off with some pretty easy numbers. We could actually guess, oh yeah, 2 times 4 is 8. This was kind of an easy one to make a quick guess on. Let's try another one. Let's do an example 2. Let's say we had, instead of solving for x, we were going to solve for y. And let's say we had 4y equals a negative 28. 4y equals negative 28. Okay, so line down the middle. I want y to equal an answer at the bottom. And then I actually want to look a little more closely at this problem. I want to get y by itself, but it's stuck to the 4. So really, I need to get rid of the 4. And since this means 4 times y, I'm going to do the opposite to get rid of it. The opposite would be to divide it away. I'm going to divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Gets me just a 1y. It gets me to what I want. But I can't do that on the left unless I do that on the right. I have to equally do this to both sides. So over here, I also have to divide by 4. Then I have to know what 28 divided by 4 is. Oh, well, that's 7. And then I also need to know that a negative divided by a positive, those are opposite signs, is a negative answer. So y is equal to negative 7. Divide on both sides. Now, technically, we have a name for this. We're dividing equally on both sides. So since we're doing it equally, we call that the division property. It's just a rule of equality. We are equally dividing on both sides. So division property of equality. Let's try another one. Example 3. This time, let's look at a problem that looks like this. Let's say we had negative 5x equals 30. Negative 5x equals 30. Okay, so line down the middle. We want to solve for x. We want to get x all by itself. This time, the number that needs to leave the x is that negative 5 that's right there. But I know when they're side by side like that, that it means negative 5 times x. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to use division. Now normally I'd say, okay, let's divide by 5. But this time it's not a 5, it's a negative 5. So this time I'm going to be dividing by a negative 5. A negative 5 divided by a negative 5, let's think about that. Negative 5 divided by a negative 5. Well, a negative and a negative match, that's a positive, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So it makes it a positive 1x. So that does what I want here, but I also need to do it over here. I need to divide by negative 5. 30 divided by 5 I know is 6, and negative divided, or positive divided by negative, those don't match. That's a negative answer, negative 6. And there's my answer. Okay, so now for the video, I'm going to put a problem up on the screen. We're going to call this a you try problem. And I want you to write it down. I want you to pause the video, do the problem, and then unpause and see if you're doing it right. See if you actually got the hang of this. So give yourself some time to practice. Here's the problem I'd like you to try. I'm going to tell you that I have 60 equals negative 10x. 60 equals negative 10x. Go ahead and pause and see if you can do this problem. Okay, so now, hopefully you're done. Hopefully you're unpausing the video and you're ready to check your solution. So I'm going to put my line down the equal sign, which I hope you did. Notice the x is on this side of the equation, on the right. So at the bottom, I'm going to put the x backwards, saying x equals. And really, to get x all by itself, I got to get rid of the negative 10. Now, because they're side by side, it's like negative 10 times x. So what I'm going to do to get rid of it is I'm going to divide it. And I'm not going to divide just by 10. I'm going to divide by a negative 10. That's going to do what I need. It's going to get rid of both of these. So the x is all by itself. And since I'm dividing by negative 10, I have to do that over here. I have to do the exact same thing. 60 divided by a negative 10 would have to be a 6, and it would have to be negative because they don't match. So the answer is negative 6. Now, if you got it correct on your own and you paused the video and tried it, awesome. That's great. That means you're getting the hang of this. If you made a mistake, you should look at mine and look at yours and see if you can find that mistake and figure out what are you doing that you can change, because that's going to help you improve and get better. And I am going to continue to post way more videos on this, so keep an eye out for those too. Thanks, you guys.